Welcome to Midday Live. I am Wendy Lai. Coming up this afternoon. Private legal practitioner challenges authority of Yoko to interdict deputy chair of the Electoral Commission. Questions emerge over the level of security and screening of the Libyan returnees into the country after grenades were uncovered here in the country. Still on security, wave of nomadic activities in West African sub-region raises security concerns. And in business, prices of fuel expected to go up by between 3 and 5% for the second pricing window in January. And on the foreign front, Zimbabweans and the Namibian capital shocked and embarrassed to be charged by cash-strapped embassy to see visiting president. So we have details of these stories and many more lined up shortly. Please do stay with us. Let's start with our stories now. And a prosecution witness in the NCA listening device trial case has told an Accra High Court she never knew of the existence of the contract document until investigators gave her a scanned copy. Director Legal Services at the NCA, Mrs. Asafo J, says upon receipt of the documents, her efforts at tracing a copy in the registry of the legal departments did not yield any results, though the legal division is the custodian of all contract documents of the NCA. The documents purported to be a contract between the NCA and Infralux Development Limited has been tendered in evidence by the prosecution. The immediate past Director General of the National Communications Authority, NCA, William Tevi, and 4 others have been charged with causing financial loss to the state. Selim Amenya is joining us via phone to give us some updates from the court. Hello, Selim. Can you tell us exactly what's happening in court today?
Well, Wendy, the Director of Legal Division at the NCA, Abena Asafo-J, told the court, that is at Accra High Court, that she had no knowledge of a contract signed between the authority and Infralux Development Limited. She is actually appearing as the very first prosecution witness in the case arising from the contract that has seen former board chair Eugene Bafo-Bonning, former CEO of NCA, William Matthew Tevi, and 3 others charged with causing financial loss to the state. And while being led in evidence by Director for Public Prosecution, Yvonne Atakura Obubi, Mrs. Asafo-J, head of the NCA's legal division, she is actually responsible for the drafting of contractual documents and also has custody over them. So it was actually some kind of surprise that when handed the document or the contract document in court, she denied knowledge, saying that she only came across it when the investigator handling the case came to her office and handed the document to her. She also added that she ran checks in her department's registry and did not find a copy of the document in her custody. And Mrs. Asafo-J said that a casual look at the document revealed that it had been signed by former Director General of NCA, William Tevi, who is also before the court.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Selim Amenya, for that update. He'll bring us some more updates as and when he gets that information. You're still watching Midday Live. A private legal practitioner has challenged the authority of Yoko to interdict the deputy chairperson of the Electoral Commission. There was a standoff between officials of the Economic and Organized Crime Office and the deputy commissioner of the Electoral Commission in charge of corporate services as she tried entering her office 6 months after she was suspended. A defiance commissioner has given Yoko 14 days to furnish her with their findings.
The deputy commissioner focused on one thing: entering her office and continuing her work.
I spoke to my lawyer and then we scheduled that Monday afternoon we will meet at Yoko. We'll meet the executive director. And then before I could say Jack, they went and then came back again. And then that they had to lock me out if I move out of the office. And then I said, I'm not moving an inch. So if they can carry me from my seat and throw me out there, then they lock it.
Armed policemen from the Economic and Organized Crime Office invaded the offices of the Electoral Commission ostensibly to force the Deputy Commissioner of the Electoral Commission, Georgina Opoku-Amankwah, out of her office when she reported on Monday. But she resisted, insisting the action of the Iyoko is unconstitutional. The deputy chair of the Electoral Commission has been the subject of an investigation after several allegations of financial impropriety were made against her. After several hours of locking her up in her office, she reached an agreement with the lawyers and the boss of Iyoko.
What we have agreed is that for now she would have to stay out for some time, and then after the less than 14 days, as I said, whether the results are the investigation report is in or not, we'll still proceed to work.
Minutes after, the deputy chair of the Electoral Commission walked out of her office with the hope of returning in 14 days when the Iyoko finally provides her information on her interdiction. Komla Kluche, TV3 News, Accra.
Meanwhile, private legal practitioner Justice Sremsai says the Economic and Organized Crime Office has no legal basis to interdict the deputy chairperson of the Electoral Commission. He spoke on News at 10 last night.
We are dealing specifically with a constitutionally created body called the Electoral Commission. The Electoral Commission's position is very special in our democracy, and because of that, the framers of the Constitution decided to grant it what we call independence. So one of the things that we are looking at here is a constitutionally guaranteed independence of the Electoral Commission. It is true that Iyoko might be doing their work, and Iyoko, as we know, is a creature of what? Is a creation of a statute. When it comes to their work, they have to follow what their statute says. But that statute is subject to the Constitution. So ordinarily, we need to follow what the Constitution says and then try to weave in the Iyoko behavior within that framework. Now, if you look at I'm not sure if what is going on is related to the investigation, the president's, referral of a petition to the Chief Justice, which we understand is currently going through the committee stage. If it is related, I think the only person who is empowered under the Constitution to suspend the Electoral Commissioner or any of the two deputies is the President. And the circumstances under which the President may suspend them is also clearly stated under the Constitution, which is that when a petition calling for their removal is referred to a committee by the Chief Justice, that is only when the President may suspend them. Otherwise, any other attempt to suspend or to prevent them from working on the face of it would look like an infraction of the provisions of the Constitution. Okay. So the question probably that we should be asking Iyoko is the allegation that there is an interdiction. Where is the interdiction coming from, and what is the basis of that interdiction?
Now, away from matters arising at the Electoral Commission, and 3 persons have been arrested after police intercepted objects expected to be explosive of various species from them at Odoko in Accra. Police Public Affairs Directorate, which confirmed the arrest, said suspects whose names have been withheld are currently in custody assisting investigations. According to the police, investigations have been intensified as it is coordinating with other relevant agencies, urging the public to volunteer information related to the case by calling the National Emergency Number 191 or Vodafone MTN toll-free number 18555. And we hit the streets to find out people's views on this very topic. On what do you think?
Yesterday, there were police reports that 3 people had been arrested at Odoko following a tip-off that they carried explosives suspected to be bombs. Later in the day, official information from the police indicated investigations were underway to confirm whether or not those items were indeed bombs. Today, on What Do You Think?, we find out your views on how the police went about the issue.
Whether they are bombs or whatever, the fact that they've been arrested is a very good sign. I saw the pictures. They're grenades, I think. But they still are explosive. They're dangerous. And, well, you know, we are in an era where communication is so vital. Everybody wants to know what is going on. Ordinarily, I even think the police should have said anything after they've gotten to the bottom of the matter. But then someone will leak information and it will go around and people will be panicked even more. So it's good the police come out to say something. And then as we go on, they rectify the situation, because investigations tend to change as it goes on when you get to know all the facts.
You must carry out your investigation well before you come out. Not that you say something today, the next day you want to get to another area. Therefore, how do we believe you? So they did not act professionally.
BBC I'm saying Libya was I think say nipa ba ko wuye wo mo bi ntama nipa nyina abohu sa ade no ja san kam hwehwem yie na nka wo botu enim because this year wabaka say first mo say bomb first this year mo say anya bomb no is ya ma ihu which is which nti be sem penfo na say mo nim de wo sa ade no so mo koye hwehwem ya mo hwehwem yie se na be ya mfa fear and panic and fambre amount.
You have to investigate before coming out with with the answer. So without investigation and then coming out that it was a bomb, then later on telling out that story, I think it's unprofessional.
You have arrested people with bomb and all that. Be sure where the people are coming from. Be sure of what you are talking about before you come public, and the pictures are all over WhatsApp and all that. Put fear and panic into the community. It is not fair. You know, I was so worried myself. They should just be professional and do their work well. That's it.
All right, so we're still staying a lot more longer on this very issue, and joining me in the studio this afternoon is Emmanuel Kutin. He is a security analyst. Good afternoon, Emmanuel, and thanks for your time. Even before we delve into the situation proper, we just played some sound bites of Ghanaians on the streets on their concerns about how the police handled the situation yesterday. And the very last guy said he was worried about the information he had. What do you make of the process?
In fact, thank you for having me, and very good afternoon to your cherished viewers. I think to call a spade, and our police service in handling this matter in the first place didn't handle it well, especially the way the information went about. I think that oftentimes we always chastise our security personnel. I've come to one conclusion. It's just like the computer. Garbage in, garbage out. It means that is the training they have. So there's a need for us to look at how we can really give capacity training to our security personnel to be able to deliver. I think that there should also be motivational or incentives for them to give out their best. Let me come to the issue. When you are dealing with investigations of this nature, especially when it has to do with terrorism, we need the utmost amount of secrecy. But unfortunately, when the tip-off came and these people were arrested, I was even so angry they had to take them to the Odoko police station. They should have just whisked them to the headquarters and the guard, and nobody is aware of what is happening until they are able to get to the bottom of whom these people really are. You realized yesterday there was some form of information. This morning, they are changing the tunes, and it creates unnecessary panic. And just listening to the people you interview, they had every right, because we need to coordinate some of these processes in a very professional manner.
Now, let's look at the fundamental issues that has to do with the bit about security and even screening with the Libyan returnees who came back home. Did we handle that situation professionally and properly as it should have been handled?
In fact, when these people return into the country, I think your station Skype with me, and the organization I work for were not so happy about the processes. We even came out with a statement to say that we have terrorists on the loose in the country. And what happened yesterday was just a stark reminder of our prediction. And I think that we ought to take security very serious in this country. It's true, they went through so much inhumanized condition in Libya, but it is not enough guarantee to bring people from the hub of terrorism and just leave them at the airport to go away. For the mere fact that they had Ghanaian passport does not make them Ghanaian. We are in this country, and we spoke about this here. When a Nigerian kidnapper had in his possession a Ghanaian passport. So I think these are some of the things we need to be looking at moving forward, and we shouldn't allow this kind of lapses to ever happen in the country.
Now, with your expertise, you've touched on the bit about disclosing information and links with these persons, but with your expertise, you mentioned that you spoke to us, you mentioned that terrorists are on the loose. How do you work hand in hand with the police service? Do you deliver, or do you send information to them? Do you have contacts with them to ensure that when you've done your research, you hand it over to them?
Unfortunately, I regret to say this on live TV. You know, Ghana, we don't have any counter-terrorism policy and implementation plan. So the question is, how do we fight terrorism? I was one of the experts that reviewed the Nigerian policy. And when the Minister of National Security was sworn in, I wrote a letter to him of the need, and precisely the urgent need for Ghana to have one. I'm yet to receive a response from him. So you see, this kind of knee-jerk attitude between government and civil society organizations and policy think tanks, it doesn't help. Because security has become increasingly a collaborative enterprise, and you need all hands on the deck.
Okay.
And let me quickly mention this. You see, Al-Qaeda and ISIS in Iraq and Syria, they are losing a lot of grounds. And what they are doing now is exploring otherwise stable states or countries in Africa. And Ghana has been on the target list. And if you look at what is happening in the country now, Ghana presents a very good opportunity for these terrorists to recruit from within. We have unemployment. We have very politicized ethnic tensions all over the country. We have, our political parties have developed some kind of appetite for militias in gestation in the form of the political hooligans we talk about. So I think these things present an opportunity for us as a country to come together and look at how we can disband these militias in gestation.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel Kutin. He's a security analyst. We're grateful for your time. And we're still staying on security, and an expert in that field, Dr. Kwesi Enin, warns diseases are likely to get into the country if the appropriate institutions fail to check the health status of cattle owned by nomadic herdsmen crossing Ghana's international boundary. He was speaking with Alfred Okansi on 3FM's Sunrise.
What led to this new spate of fighting? Have we seen any farms burnt in the Hamatan, destroyed crops? Because I haven't seen any TV footage of any farms destroyed in the Hamatan. Have you?
No, I haven't.
So what sparked this new conflict? That's one. If you look at Act 526, Act 526 enjoins all these security councils, from the district security council all the way up, to be proactive and work as an early warning framework. Okay, so what it means is that if we've allowed these problems to expand to where they are, then the preventive early warning side of these security councils have not been very successful. If you look at existing ECOWAS frameworks and regulations of which we are members and we are a signatory state, if all these cattle causing havoc are owned by nomadic herdsmen, then a fair percentage or proportion of them have crossed our international boundaries. Now, the rule says every single cattle crossing our international boundary must have a health certificate of sorts. Let's check with the veterinary services. How many of these cattle have been checked and that their health certificates were in order so they don't bring eradicated diseases back into this country? Already we are beginning to see new forms of cattle diseases if we move away from the violence.
And the Chief of Defense Staff, Lieutenant General Obi Okwa, has assured the people of Ago that the task force deployed to evict herdsmen from the area will wage a relentless fight to end the menace. He warned that any attack on the security will not go unresponded. He gave the assurance while addressing members of the Ago Traditional Council when he led a high-powered delegation on fact-finding mission to Agogo.
And we wish to make these points very, very clear that no attack on a soldier or a policeman or any other security person or in fact the ordinary citizenry of Ghana shall go without a response. We consider that attack an attack on the state. The policemen and the soldiers were deployed under orders of government. So if anybody dared attack them, then they're defying the authority of government.
And we'll look a lot more into this very situation, and I do have Dr. Chico Eze. He's Executive Director for the West African Network for Peace Building in the studio this afternoon. Good afternoon, Doc, and thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.
Now, even before we look at the sub-regional picture, here in Ghana and Nigeria, can we term this as a security threat?
Yeah, it's a big one. First of all is that our borders are porous, and that presents in itself a huge challenge in terms of the movement of transhuman and the kind of arms and ammunitions that they are now being seen to be carrying, which is unlike the past when they are just carrying clubs and sticks. So it's a big security challenge, especially within the context of violent extremism and terrorism around the sub-region. So it's a big one.
And where did we go wrong?
I think that inbuilt within the concept of the ECOWAS protocol on free movement of persons is also the challenges associated with crime and criminality. But beyond that is also the fact that we do not take the census of these cattle as is done elsewhere in the world. I think that there has also not been a study of the nexus between climate change and the movement of the nomads. In the past, you used to have a lot of green pastures and then the colonies through which, the paths through which these cattle move. But today, there's a lot of challenges. There is urbanization. There is increase in the growth in population. And what that means is that the paths through which these cattle moved before are now being occupied by humans. And yet there is pressure. So there is a pull factor, there is a push factor. There is pressure for them to also go and ensure that these cattle feed. So in doing that, they come into contact with the local farmers and then eat up their crops, and then there is conflict. Now, what that has also done is that it has exposed the amount of risk and vulnerability factors that is associated with their movement, which means they have to find a way to defend themselves. But also, within that context, is also some conspiracy theory about these kind of issues being economic war against nations. So there is an angle to which you can look at it, and then you begin to ask yourself, why is it always these communities that are like the food baskets of the nations that they attack? So you will have to begin to make sense within that context.
And looking at the sub-regional picture, you've touched on these problems that have brought about this very situation where we find ourselves. Now, how long should it take leaders in the sub-region to deal with this problem?
I think the first problem is that the West Africa sub-region plus Mauritania, they are treating this as national issues when indeed is an ECOWAS community issue. So if you look at the movement of the nomads, the Fulanese that form the major ethnic group that are the cattle rearers, the herders, they cut across the entire Sahel region, as well as even some part of the Gulf of Guinea. So why do you have to treat it as national issue? So Nigeria cannot be dealing with it as a Nigerian issue. Ghana is dealing with it as a Ghanaian issue. Burkina Faso is dealing with it. It has to be a community issue. So I expect the heads of state to meet at the level of ECOWAS and take a decision about the herders conflict. But more importantly,